So, today is slightly different.
Yes, welcome guys.
Today
Welcome.
is slightly different, and the reason why it's different is because today is straight
to the point.
Straight to the point. So, the reason why it's different is because when we do the journey so far, we always share about how we met or something about our journey, basically.
Yeah.
Whereas when we do straight to the point, the focus isn't so much on us, but it's about teaching on a specific topic.
Yeah.
And really just covering more information about that topic. So if you feel like it's a bit more weighty today, that's the reason. But we're not finished with the journey. Hello, we really just started. There's so much more to cover. So don't forget, guys, we are still doing the journey so far, but every other week we'll be doing straight to the point. And when we do straight to the point, it basically means that we're going to go and delve into a juicy topic, and it's going to be looking more than just at relationships, but we'll go into other things.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we'll go from there.
Cool.
So, straight to the point. Today our topic is competing and completing. Okay, so I'm going to say that again just to make sure everybody has heard it. I'm sure you've seen the post, but competing and completing. Now, the point of why we are doing this is relationships are based on two people. That is generally what it should be, two people. And then you have an extension of other things around it. But one of the things that we have identified... Hey, Chris. Good to see you on here.
Jump over to Two Love Collective, please.
Hi, Eva. So, one of the main things that we see... Hey, Kayon. One of the things... Sorry. One of the things that we've identified with people in relationships, and that's not just husband, wife and spouse and so on and so on, but it's brother and sister, all the rest of it, is competing is a big issue.
Yes, 100%.
Looking at if you do one thing or somebody else does another thing and how you respond and the motives behind what you're doing, it is creating some real havoc situations.
Yeah.
So, one of the questions we want to ask you categorically is, do you feel like there is a relationship that you have with anybody where you are competing?
Yes.
And if you can identify if there is one, let's get to the motive of why.
Yeah.
Why do you feel that you need to compete?
Yeah.
Categorically. We all know the hand is not the same as the foot. The lip is not the same as the belly. We all have different parts. We're all completely different.
Yeah.
We are made uniquely. Our DNA is completely different. Our fingerprint is completely different. So why do we feel that we need to compete with any other person, whether it's our spouse, our brother, our sister, our parent, whatever it is? Something in our mind. We need to look at why. What's the motive behind competing?
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because generally 9 times out of 10 you will find that if you are competing with yourself or others, it's generally because you're feeling a bit insecure about something. That you don't want your guard, you don't want to show your vulnerability, you don't want to show your areas of weakness. But one of the things that Ulrich and I have always identified is, in a relationship, I'm not here to compete with you. We're here to complete each other.
100%.
You're supposed to be able to feel that you can rest and relax and trust me enough to share your weaknesses with me, your areas of vulnerability with me, so that I can now cover you, support, and work together with you to build something better that doesn't allow that weakness either to be on show or doesn't allow that weakness to be threatened by somebody else. So I guess what we're really trying to look at is, how are we dealing with competition?
Sure.
And why is that driving us to do certain things? And I know it's like, it can be a husband and wife not competing internally but competing with other husbands and wives.
That's a good point.
Oh, I've got this car, I'm gonna get that car, or oh, their child is doing this, so I'm gonna get my child to do this, or like and it can get really crazy. And before we even go any further, what we really want to do is just start looking internally as to what is driving this desire, this thought, this need, this expectation that we need to compete.
Yes.
Because I really believe that when we are, and I'll take it back to relationships, when we are competing with someone, it's almost as if we're saying, I want you to know that I'm here.
Yeah.
I don't want you to think that you can pull the wool over my eyes. I don't want you to think that you can get one over on me.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, is that a sense of pride? How
good.
are we managing that essence?
Sure.
Like, why do we feel that we need to put ourselves out there to be puffed up?
Yeah.
And I guess these are the kind of questions that we want to throw out to people.
Yeah.
I know that I wish we could start hearing dialogue from people, but at the same time, I know that it's also about internally reflecting on what we're doing and why we're doing it, and what are our motives behind the decisions that we're making and the things that we're striving for. You know, like, is the career path that you're on something that's out of purpose and out of desire and something that you know that you should be doing? Or is it about proving to somebody else that you can handle it?
Sure.
Are you going out and working extended hours to prove that you can keep up? Like, as a female, are you trying to prove in the workplace that you can handle what the man can handle?
Sure. Wow.
Like, or is there a battle? And I tell you what, you feel it. You get on the train and you feel people sizing you up, and you feel like, I need to now compete for the attention of somebody else, or you know, like, and we do it without even thinking about it. We do it without even realizing. But it can be, it can be
Two Love Collective, guys.
It can
Switch
be so
over.
detrimental. It can be so damaging.
Yeah, it can be. It's
Because
really dangerous.
we don't really put our guard down. And when we don't put our guard down, then we have, I guess we have the it's easy for us now to start walking in pride.
Sure. Yeah.
Because we don't ever want to let anybody see us in that vulnerable state.
That's right. Yeah.
And you know, like, the Bible talks about guarding your heart with all diligence, for out of it the abundance of the heart speaks. But at the end of the day, although you're guarding your heart, are you guarding it, or have you allowed God to guard your heart?
Sure.
Are you allowing the word of God to guard your heart? Or is it a case where you think that you need to be seen in a certain light to feel validated?
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's really good, guys.
Hey,
hello
man.
everybody, all of you guys that are connecting with us from the Cokers. Please switch over to Two Love Collective, because we're going to be gradually moving all of our lives over to Two Love Collective. Please follow us. Hey Nye, how are you? So I just wanted to quickly, because Siobhan just went straight in, boy.
Sorry.
No, it's alright,
Sorry,
babe.
there was a lot.
It's okay.
It's on my heart.
So those people who are joining us for the first time, obviously, well, not obviously, but my name is Ulrich.
Oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm Siobhan.
And we are the Cokers.
We are the Cokers.
And this is Two Love Collective.
Yes.
This is basically where we're going to be filming everything from now on. We've been kind of building ourselves up to it. And so we're so excited to be finally on here, on this side of the platform.
Whoop, whoop.
So we obviously want all of our We want all of our following, obviously, to follow us over to Two Love Collective,
Yes.
so that you guys can not miss out on the conversation that we're having.
Migrate.
And as Siobhan so eloquently introduced the kind of subject area, it is called Straight to the Point.
Yeah.
And on this kind of segment, we're literally just talking about topics. We really want this section, or this segment rather, to be a bit more interactive. So, you know, straight to the point, competing and completing. Yeah. What does that actually mean to you guys? Have you guys ever found yourselves in a situation where you are competing, or whether that be within your households, whether that be husband and wife, sibling rivalry, you know, looking at other families, trying to be like other families. You know, there's so many different areas that, you know, this competing and completing thing. Fine. I mean, the first kind of understanding that came to us was obviously within our marriage.
Yeah.
You know, this whole essence of trying to outdo each other. And obviously we're going to talk about that a little bit, but I want you guys to kind of let me know what your thoughts are. Because it would be really good to kind of hear from some of you in terms of what you think. I think to kind of continue on from what Siobhan has already kind of spoken about, I think it's really important to understand what relationships are there for. Because when we break down that word relationship, it says relation and then it has ship. So it's a moving thing. It's something that it's been, a ship was created to hold things or people, and it was created to take you from one position to another position. And it's so important that every relationship needs a destination. And if you're ever on a ship or been on a ship, sometimes, you know, you can have some really rocky situations. Do you know what I mean? When you're forced to go through some stormy areas. And so every relationship has its storms. And so we almost have to always remember that, you know, irrespective of whichever relationship you're looking at, whether that be with your sibling, with your mum and dad, with your spouse, there's always going to be times where you're going to go through a rough patch. But it's how you react. It's how you deal with the sales, how you navigate yourself in that relationship, in order to get it to completeness. Because essentially that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to have complete and whole relationships. We always say that, you know, when you're coming to meet somebody, or when you're trying to get with somebody, or dating or whatever, you know, it's never, you know, halves. You never come half full. Never. You always come whole. And that wholeness doesn't necessarily mean that you've got everything together. That wholeness really means that you understand who you are. And, you know, last week I think we talked about purpose and understanding your purpose and who you are and what you're created to do. I think with that, then we use that to kind of propel us forward into completeness. Because in marriage, the whole essence of it is being complete. It's being one. The Bible says, for this reason shall a man leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. And one represents a whole. It represents completeness.
Yes, absolutely. And I think when you walk in that completeness, you walk in that strength, that you know your worth, you know what you carry, you know what you bring to the table. So I own where I have my weaknesses, and I own where I have my strengths. Prime example, I am terrible, and I'm not, it's no exaggeration, I am terrible at sewing. There's no joke.
Join us on Two Love Collective, guys.
I am probably one of the worst people with a needle and thread. You would think that I would be able to do it in a straight line. I come out and I've sewn it for what I thought I've sewn, and the thing is just it's a mess. It's there's no joke, there's no over exaggeration here. It's terrible. However, for me, put me in a kitchen, we could have several things missing, and I'll still make that items that dinner taste like. Ooh, you put your foot in this one. Do you get what I'm saying? And that's my strength. I do not have a strength with the sewing and the needle and thread. So generally, if something needs to be sewn, it is Ulrich that needs to do it. Ulrich, he comes from a long line of talented tailors and seamstresses. They are fantastic. They are amazing. Me, I didn't get blessed with that one. I did not get blessed with that one. But I say all to say that I know and I own my strength and my weakness. So I don't feel intimidated if he came to me and said, Siobhan, there's a rip in this top. Do you mind sewing it for me? I'd be like, listen, yeah. As long as we have an agreement that it's not going to be straight, the stitching is probably going to be showing. You probably don't want this from me.
Best foot forward, man.
Exactly. Put your best foot forward, and don't feel that it infringes on you being a man's man.
Sure, of course.
To pick up a needle and thread, or for you to be. It's not in like if something happens to Matthias's uniform and Ulrich has to stitch it. It's now not he's taken on a woman's role.
Come on.
It is him doing what needs to be done, and I think we need to take away roles and look at responsibilities.
Absolutely.
Because if there's something that needs to be done in the house, it's just the ownership and the responsibility of the people who are in that house to try to now say, okay, cool, this is what we're going to do, rather than, well, you're the woman, so you need to be able to do it. I'm really sorry. We're going to go down a really rocky road now if we stick to the boys must do this and the women must do that, and the women, the men must do this. It gets too rigid.
I totally agree, and I think it's one of those things where it goes back to what we've been saying. A couple of weeks ago when we were talking about submission, and we were talking about a marriage or a relationship being a team. Do you get what I'm saying? Because I think when you adopt the understanding of we are a team, a football team, the goalkeeper can't always be involved in the match. His responsibility is to make sure that nobody gets the ball into the net.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as some of you know, some goalkeepers are coming out of the box. Some goalkeepers are taking penalty kicks. Do you understand? But it all depends on the strengths and the weaknesses.
Yeah.
And I think in any relationship, you have to identify those strengths and play those cards when it's required.
Absolutely.
Do you understand? And I think traditionally, roles have been seen as has kind of limited relationships, and it's put things into a box because traditionally, the man was the breadwinner, the main breadwinner. So he was the one that worked, and the women were historically at home looking after the kids, looking after the home, and there's nothing wrong with that. Do you understand? But I think in today's day and age, we have to kind of adjust with the time, because I think previously, and it's something that Siobhan and I talked about as well, is understanding that the wife's purpose doesn't get dismissed just because she's now married. Her dreams, her aspirations don't get forgotten just because she's now in a marriage relationship. Do you understand? Whatever it is that she's called to do or she's passionate to do, whether that be in the corporate world, whether that be in building a business, whether that be in looking after the kids at home, whatever that purpose is, that in and of itself is supposed to help the man do whatever he needs to do.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you understand? And that's why sitting down and talking about particular things, discussing your vision, knowing your purpose. Because when you understand each other's purpose, it now makes it easier to make decisions concerning the family.
Completely.
And so this is where this kind of completeness comes in, which is why we called it, competing and completing, because are we competing for the role of breadwinner?
That's the worst thing. That is.
Are we trying? And don't get me wrong, I understand that all marriages are different. And we know a number of people who both husband and wife are highly career orientated
and successful at it,
and it works. But what makes it work is because they understand what they're called to do. So when you look at their relationship, you can admire it or you can frown your eyes on it. But at the end of the day, they understand their strengths and their weaknesses, and they bring it together and they make it work. Do you understand? Like even one of my colleagues, his wife is, corporate. You know, she's a designer. She's incredible. She works for an amazing company in the city. You know, and you know he does coding and all that kind of stuff, and he's passionate about that. But they have to work it out, even with this coronavirus situation. They have to split their days. You know, one takes half the day and goes in on their work, and the other one, then they have a child in the middle of that, and so it's teamwork.
Yes.
You know, we can't keep to our traditional cultures, which now limits us to a particular position. Because there was a time where Siobhan was the main breadwinner of our family.
Yeah.
Where I was building my business and trying to get it up to where it needed to be, you know? And so now things have switched.
Completely.
You know what I mean? Where I'm the main breadwinner,
yeah,
you know, and she's home, you know, with the boys. So we have to, and if I was fixated, or if my pride, you know, didn't allow me to allow her to kind of take the wheel, as it were, then we wouldn't be here now.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And I think Siobhan hit it on the head where she was talking about, you know, pride being at the kind of center of this kind of competing thing, because, you know, why are we trying to outdo each other?
Yeah.
You know, why are we trying to, you know, prove that we're better?
Yeah.
And I think we just have to really drop those mentalities and begin to come back to realizing how important it is to work together as a team.
Absolutely agree with you. I think when you start focusing on the competing, your attention is diverted.
Yeah.
And rather than focusing on completing and bringing more unity in the relationship, bringing more unity amongst each other, you end up finding yourself having more problems.
Sure.
Rather than dealing with, okay, cool, we have a problem, how can we solve it? So imagine some water is spilt. You can focus on the fact that the water is spilt and now it's going to make everything wet and damage this and all the damage it can do. Or you can focus on, okay, what can we use to clear it up? Can we get a towel? Can we get kitchen towel, kitchen roll? What have we got at our disposal? And the point of it is that when you're in a relationship with the person, you should be aiming to complete that relationship.
Yeah.
So Ulrich could categorically see where my weaknesses were. So he would do stuff to support me in those areas. So not to take away from the fact that, you know, like you're growing and you're developing. Yeah, but how else can I support you? How else can I help you? How else can I be of assistance to you? That's the point. Not, is that how you sew?
Crazy.
Is that how you come? Because
yeah,
and that's the point of it. In your home, in those secret places, those intimate areas, those vulnerable places, that's where you need to be able to let your guard down.
Sure. And
trust that this person's going to see your vulnerability and not use it against you and not pounce and not almost like throw it at you later in an argument.
Yeah.
You know, like that's where the trust needs to come in.
100.
And I love like what somebody, I think it was Admira, that posted about like how she doesn't like to be compared by her parent to somebody else. But I think when people are doing it, because at the end of the day, we've all grown up where you've been like, you've experienced, look how such and such is sitting and look how you're sitting. You know, like you know how that makes you feel. It makes you feel inadequate. It makes you feel less than. But it's almost like, okay, although I've had this thing pointed at me, I'm not going to turn around and point it back or dish it back. How am I going to deal with myself? How am I going to put my guard up to stop myself from reacting, but actually process that? Take it like, because some of the times when people say certain things, we can be quick to shut it down or be defensive. Yeah. Totally understand. And that is us hiding any insecurities that we have because this person may have picked out one of our flaws or one of our areas of weakness.
Sure.
So it is about having the maturity with how to now deal with that, to say to yourself, okay, cool, I don't think that this person is right, or I don't like how they've dealt with this thing. However, maybe what they're saying has an element of truth to it.
Join us on Two Love Collective, guys. Those of you that are logging in.
If I can, I'll take some time out at a later date.
Sure.
To try to review this, to say to myself, right, cool, do I think that I am showing this area?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're not perfect. We have our flaws, we have our faults, we have ways that we need to improve.
Yeah.
But I think wholeheartedly, when that does happen to us, when we are in that experience and it's not nice, how we respond.
Yeah, so important.
Is so important because sometimes when people give us that information, it's easy for them to put, and don't get me wrong, it is easy for you to point out the what's it called, the speck in someone's eye when you've got a rod in your own. You know, it's easy for some people to point out where you are going wrong.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, let it be that I'm the person that can take the correction and make changes.
Sure.
Then get my back up and feel now that I need to compete.
Definitely. Yeah.
Because I just think we see it manifest and it shows up in so many different areas. Like we were talking about sibling rivalry.
Yeah. Definitely.
And we were saying, you know, like one of the things that a lot of the time happens with parents is that they get into the tricky situation of comparing one child against the other. And immediately the effect that it has, and if it's long term, when you get out of that house and you interact with others, the first thing you do is already have your guard up that someone's going to be comparing you, they're going to be putting you down for where you don't meet up to this expectation or this achievement level. And it really boils down to, and I love what I think it's Rachel has said, that it's insecurity and lack of identity and jealousy, but all of those are almost like consequences of long-term ill experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Long-term being put down, long-term being like made to feel that you're less than.
Yeah.
That has an effect.
It breaks. It's a form of trauma.
Exactly. And it can affect your mental health. It can affect how you perceive information.
Or how you even see yourself as a person.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's a lot of people who have been affected by that, especially when you're like, either if you're the youngest or you're the middle child. Do you get what I'm saying? Because sometimes there's favoritism and stuff, and so sometimes you get forgotten because you're in the middle. So guys, if you have experienced any of these types of things, just give us a shout and let us know like what you think, because I think it's really important to kind of like hear from you guys as well, to see, you know, your perspectives on you know, competing and completing. I think when we were kind of preparing for this as well, one of the things that we also thought about was obviously scripture and looking at, you know, where in the Bible did we see kind of this whole competing and completing? Where was it found? And we found a few, but I think the one that we kind of landed on was Jacob and Esau.
Yeah.
And obviously these are twin brothers, and you know, we already know the kind of story, and if you don't, you know, Isaac is their father, and Isaac takes more of a liking to Esau because he was a man of the field. He loved to hunt, and possibly very much like how he was.
Yeah.
Whereas Jacob was a different man. I have my I have my own kind of take on this story, because I believe that these two types of men is a depiction of how a lot of men are today.
Yeah.
But Jacob was a man of study. He was a man of wisdom. You know, he stayed at home. He learned to cook, so he knew how. Well, both of them knew how to cook because the dad liked Esau's cooking anyway.
Yeah.
But long story short, obviously there was this whole big beef fight between them where Esau didn't really take his birthright as firstborn seriously.
Yeah.
And so as the story goes, you know, Jacob saw it as extremely important and said, you know, would you sell my birthright? And, you know, the story goes on from there. Yeah. But I think it's so important to understand that, you know, this competing and completing thing, it's a really serious thing.
Yeah.
And we really need to kind of assess ourselves, because I think when we were talking about it, I started to look at myself, because I remember when I met Siobhan.
Oh yeah.
Siobhan was a singer. Do you know what I mean? Like, her first performance was, how old are you? 4 years old? 5 years old. Can you imagine? That's crazy.
No, I think yeah, that's 5, but like the actual performance with like people at a concert, I was probably 8.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, she was very young. So she'd been singing for a long time.
Yeah.
And when I met her, obviously I'd been singing, but not on the level that she had been singing. You know, she was leading worship from when she was like 18 years old.
Yeah.
You know, she was running like hour services, like it was nothing. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I was this young boy, you know, finding myself in terms like vocally and singing and all that kind of stuff. And I was leading worship in uni.
Yeah.
With our the society, the Christian society that I was part of. But even then, when I think back, I'm just thinking like I was nowhere compared to, you know, where Siobhan was at, because obviously if you guys remember the story of how we met, you know, she was coming up to Liverpool to sing one of her own songs. So, and I was nowhere near that. I was just leading a little 10-15 minute worship session at Christian Union. So, do you know what I mean? So I know that for me, I wasn't intimidated by her, because essentially I fell in love with her as the months and the years went on. But in terms of the music side, I was kind of like, mate, I'm a bit out of my water here. And as the story goes is, she was actually working on her own album.
Yeah.
And we had amazing like producers and people that were helping us out, and I was so excited for her, because I was like, I'm okay. Like, I'm actually okay with you being the person that sings, and do you know what I mean? I'm cool. I'm just back here. I'm, you know, I'll take lessons from you. Do you know what I mean? Shada, you remember that?
Yeah,
remember those rehearsals?
Shada was BV.
So I was happy being a BV. I was good. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, deep inside of my heart, because I was a singer and because people knew me as a worship leader as well, there was an element of competition in my heart, because I was just like, oh my gosh, like, and it made me step up my game.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, hold on a minute, because this is something that I knew I wanted to do. I knew I had a calling to do it, but I felt like I was miles away in terms of my vocal ability. Siobhan thinks otherwise, but I thought I was miles away. But as the story goes, it's like she started to kind of encourage me.
Yeah.
And try to kind of convince me that, look, or you could do this thing, man.
Yeah.
Like, you could actually do this thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're not as far behind as you think you are. But I say that so that you guys understand that we had to talk about that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I even said to her, yeah, it's cool, you know, let's do your album, you know, we'll launch it. You can be the person that does, I don't need to be at the front. Do you know what I mean?
That was not the Lord.
And I was trying to take the back seat.
But, you know, and so I need to just come in here.
Yeah,
because it was, although Orrit was saying what he was saying, it was like, it was a false humility. It wasn't, it wasn't the truth. It wasn't actually what was really going on.
Yeah.
It was the intimidation. It was the fear. It was that. And it needed to be removed. And when we got to the bottom of things, because I remember us really talking about it and just being like, we got to shut this thing down.
Yeah, Two Love Collective.
We really need to shut this thing down and actually complete each other.
Yeah.
And then when we started to work together in that, you guys know, we were able to produce and launch an album. And the point of it was that every time we went to that album, every time we came to work together now, we could talk about that process because there's a whole
journey
lot
so
there.
far.
But that's a journey so far. But the point of it is that we had to identify, even in that, how do we complete each other?
Yeah.
Not compete.
Yeah.
How do we complete each other to get this assignment done? Because we truly believe that God had laid this on our heart to do. And every time I was working on this to do it myself, it just
didn't feel right.
It wasn't. it wasn't right.
And for me, I think the reason why I was trying to kind of take the back seat was because I was afraid. I was like afraid to like mess things up. I was afraid to like, you know, be compared to her, because up you have to understand this thing was real, because up until this point, Siobhan was known like on the gospel circuit.
Not that much.
Yes, don't try it. She was known as, Siobhan can lash. You know what I mean? She can sing. Do you understand? And then it was almost like, oh, so Siobhan is marrying this guy called Ulrich. And it's like, for those people obviously who knew me, they were just like, yeah, cool, it's Ulrich. But those people that didn't, it was just like, oh, okay, cool. And then it was almost like, oh, he sings. And I remember one time, right? And I was really offended by this. I'm not going to say who the person was. But, you know, we were in a conversation, like all of us and all that kind of stuff. And then he almost turned around and he was like, what? You lead worship? And I was like, yes.
Oh, gosh.
And no, I'm sharing it because this is
too funny.
Because
I'm not crying, guys. It's real tears of just.
It was, it was a real thing for me.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And I think the reason why I'm sharing it is because I need, you know, people to understand that, you know, this is why I'm so passionate about communication in marriage. Yeah. And it is difficult. I'm not trying to say that I'm, you know, perfect at it, but I think some of these vulnerabilities is what especially men need to communicate. And it's not, you're not communicating it because, you know, I don't want you to feel like you're gonna look weaker in her eyes.
Yeah. If
you think that she's gonna think you look weaker in your eyes, then maybe she's not the person you're supposed to be with.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I think in marriage, there's a level of vulnerability that we have to go to.
Absolutely.
So that, as Siobhan rightly said at the beginning, so that we can cover each other and move towards completeness. Because, and I truly believe that the marriages that struggle, you know what I mean, to kind of weld together or to be fused together are because certain things haven't been talked about.
Yeah.
Like the deep heart issues have not been communicated. And so the two of you don't really understand each other fully.
So true.
Do you know what I mean?
So true. I mean, just to come back to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's evident when we're leading praise and worship.
Yeah.
When Ulrich is leading, I am focused. I'm holding a microphone and I'm like, right, I'm ready. Anywhere he goes, I'm ready to go. Like, to cover him.
Sure.
In the event that he wants to switch and go somewhere else, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm there. It's that kind of, and I know exactly the same with me.
Yeah.
If I'm about to do something, he's like, I got you.
Yeah.
And it is that point that when we come out, we're one united front. Nobody can know what is really going on behind that. Yeah. When they see us, they will see a united front, that the two of us are like.
Yeah, we got each other, man. And that is a physical representation of how every relationship should be. And the only way that you get to that place is when you allow each other to understand each other's vulnerability.
Yeah.
Because she's here to help me. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what the woman, that's why you women are created to do. You're created to help.
Yeah.
You know, Proverbs 31 talks about this woman who was so resourceful. Do you know what I mean? And when you really begin to look deep into the kind of the depth of that scripture, that the husband that woman was talking about, he was a man of war. He was going out to fight. He was in the courts, with the other men of the town. Do you understand what I'm saying? And she was almost like a stay-at-home mum. Do you know what I mean? But she was resourceful. Do you understand? And I think that support element comes with vulnerability, because you understand what it is that you're supporting.
Yeah.
So yes.
But I just want to pick up on some of the comments that were made on the To Love page. So for those who have experienced the traumatic side of comparison, be it with siblings, be it with parents, be it with family members, I would highly recommend you taking the time out, whether it's to either seek counselling or just praying about it, but actually taking the time out to really say to yourself, I need to deal with this. Because if you do not deal with this,
it will affect your
marriage. Take it into a relationship, you will see the cracks. You will see the problems. And we're not saying it as a beware, but it is just on a serious note.
Sure.
You cannot live a life where you've got that level of baggage and it hasn't been dealt with.
100.
If you come into a relationship and you're coming in...
Sorry, right, guys.
If you come into a relationship and you're coming in and you know that you've got these issues here...
Yeah.
These are the things that you're... I mean, okay. When you're single, it's the best time to deal with certain issues. If you have a chance, deal with as much as you can.
Yeah.
Strip yourself, sit down before God and say, okay, God, I find myself being jealous at this or responding like this, or people have said that I'm like this. All of these different things that you need to deal with, these hurts, these pains, these things that have broken you, all of that, deal with it as much as you can in your singleness so that you are whole and ready for a relationship. It's almost like, for a female, if you're about to do your makeup, trying to do makeup when you haven't taken off the makeup from before.
Jeez.
Like, you're not starting on a clean base. It's almost like you had red lipstick on and now you're trying to do a nude. It's smudgy. It's not going to give you the effect that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And the point is, competing and competition can have such a negative effect on you moving forward, and that's you in the workplace, that is you as a parent, that is you in a relationship, that is you with your decision making of how you spend your money and your finances. It just filters into so many different areas.
Absolutely.
So on anything, if you don't take anything else away from any of this today, please take away the importance of identifying why, where, when, how, and what you are competing for.
Absolutely.
It can really mess up a whole heap of things. But we would love to reach out to those who posted in here about some of the traumatic experiences they've had. So please either feel free to reach out to us, or we'll come back to you guys and just continue this on, because I really feel like there is a lot that comes with it.
Definitely.
But yeah.
Guys, thank you for joining us.
Woo, woo.
So before we go, we just want to say thank you guys for locking in. I can see some people still on We Are The Cokers. You have to follow us on To Love Collective. Please. So we're probably going to do this for one more week where we go live on both. Maybe 3 weeks, it depends. This whole setup today was just mad because we've got like 3 devices going on at the same time, and it's just a long thing in it, you get me? So hurry up!
But
so just come over to To Love Collective. Just follow us, and follow us on YouTube as well. We've set up a YouTube account, which is going to be dedicated to all of the stuff that we talk about in terms of our relationships, discussions. So yes, we hope that you guys enjoyed the conversation tonight.
Yes.
Are you going to tell them what we're talking about? So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing it fortnightly.
Yes.
So straight to the point is every 2 weeks, and the journey so far is going to be every 2 weeks as well.
The alternate week.
So next week we're going to be going into the next segment, which Siobhan is going to tell us what the topic is. And that's going to be...
I can't remember.
What do you mean you don't remember?
I know what it is, but I can't remember what we said the wording is.
Oh,
you're going to have to say it.
Can you imagine? Anyway, I would remind her and tell all of you. So it's the journey so far.
Yes.
Next week, Tuesday.
Yeah.
And it's the one thing I hate about you.
Yeah. So we were debating, how do we say this now? Do we want to say, I hate this about you? Or we were going around in circles, and we decided on something, but I'm sorry.
It's words to that effect. Yeah. I don't know what we're finally going to put out.
One thing I hate about you.
Yeah, one thing I hate about you. Because we understand that every relationship, there is...
So when you join us next week, Tuesday, you will see what we're talking about. This is a topic. It's kind of going off of what we discussed last week as well with conflict in relationships.
Yep.
Hate is a strong word, and we use it.
We don't use it lightly.
I hate it.
I hate it. Sorry. But yes.
But when we discuss it next week, you will understand what we really mean about it.
Understand. Cool, guys. So thank you for joining us. We are going to be out. We said to ourselves that we wouldn't go over a particular time. And we have. But we know that you guys have enjoyed it. So you guys have a blessed evening. Remember to follow us on Two Love Collective for the two people who are still on We Are the Cokers after I've just said that. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
It's nothing but love. But yeah, we've gone live with We Are the Cokers as a grace period. And we don't want to leave anybody behind. We want to cross over together. But yeah, we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Love you guys. Thank you so much for all your support.
Have a blessed night, guys.
Take care. Bye.
Peace. Bye.